is we want to show off work by our different photographers that are here. So we're highlighting a few. So I was thinking about this. This has been a strange year. As I started to edit for the best pictures of the year, for this is what I do. I go through the last 365 days, and where are you, David? There you are. So we're talking about some different titles and all. And Mark Avery and David, who lived in China, I was saying, this is like a transition year. It's kind of like, it's exciting, but it's got some horribleness. We have sort of a semi-World War III situation happening, which most of us in here have not experienced since World War II in any shape or form. And in this lifetime, we've had skirmishes in Korea and Vietnam and many other places around the world. Kashmir is now on its, I think, 60th year as a war. But nothing at the scale of what's happening in Ukraine. And the amount of people whose lives are lost, the amount of income, the amount of disruption, destruction. So the movie of 365, which will be the last thing we watch, is dark, but the world, sadly, is dark right now. But there'll be a mix in there of other things as well. And so we had hopefully a good vision of what's happening in the world. We had a Pope die, we had, I don't know, is it 4 or 5 Prime Ministers of England in 1 year? It's absurd. Anybody can be Prime Minister of England right now, it's pretty easy. But you can't be it for too long. So you got to be careful on that. So I found this as an interesting quote, you know, may you always live in interesting times. And the article that's interesting to me is that it is a Chinese curse, not a positive thing. So I'm like, I don't know, I think it's good to live in interesting times, but I just found that to be interesting. So I always name the movie every year. And that comes off of a family tradition of my father would always, every year, for New Year's Day, we would go to a movie. And if whatever movie, if we liked it, if it was Clint Eastwood's, what were Clint Eastwood's movies? All his had incredible titles. So it would be, we would take those on. 1 year, the year my oldest son was born, the movie on Indonesia with Helen Hunt and Mel Gibson and all, was called The Year of Living Dangerously. And we were having a baby, and that's dangerous. Can't get more Year of Living Dangerously. So 1 year I named it that. So I try to reflect in a relationship to these different things. So what I'm going to open with, I'm going to show you, I'm undisneyfying this event. Normally I don't let you see the back screen, and that's not on purpose, it's just I didn't have the time to do the dual monitor. But I don't think it matters. We're all family, and if not, hopefully you become family. So what I'm going to be showing you here is some work by one of the photographers who's not here, but was hoping to be here, unfortunately, or fortunately, got a really great job in Maui, and that's Robin Loznak, and he always does this amazing nature work. So I think there's never a time when we can't look at Robin's work. It's phenomenal. And he calls his work, I was talking about what could you show. These are all very short, these are short portions. And look at them as starters, as they say in England, or appetizers. So he always calls it, people would always want his nature, they call it frog on a log. And which makes no sense at all. But frogs get stuck on logs, and other predators seem to like to eat them. Yes?
It's a really popular children's book.
Oh, well, now, you know, what age group?
I don't know, like 5.
5? We skipped that. We just went to 2. This didn't happen for us. Maybe we should have. Okay. And then after that, we will go to his year in picture. So it's sort of animals for all. He lives on a farm in Oregon. He's got more animals around him than most, and he is amazing. And then after that, we're going to go, I'm going to go very fast. When the movies play, I'm actually later going to go one to the next, unless we have a lot more people here, in which case I will break things down a little more. And if any of these are your movies, you don't have to be shy and tell me more about them. Denis, who is one of my favorite speakers always at FOTOfusion. Used to work with him at National Geographic, and maybe even, probably think I dealt with the paper too, but he does a very interesting lecture that I've seen bits and pieces over the years, because it's a 9-year project. All right. Your project's been 8 or 9 years you've been working on? So you did an amazing project. Wait, Oregon again. You're from Oregon. Yeah, okay.
I live in Virginia. I grew up in Oregon.
So So we got the first two sets of photos are animals of Oregon, and then we're going to go into landscapes and the land and the world of from above as it relates to elements and using his photography in the air. And there's more on all of that. There'll probably be a version next year as you keep updating this. I have no idea. So they're beautiful aerials, irregardless, with no disrespect to the photographer. They're beautiful by themselves. Knowing the topic helps, but I think they're just something to look at and be very interested in as well. And then Sean Duggan has some projects that he works on, and he has toy cameras he uses, and like Holgas and different instruments, not your everyday, you know, Canons or Nikons or Leicas or whatever. And so that's also fascinating because he does amazing work with a very low-tech way of doing it. And then I also like following up projects that we've had before. So Rayne showed us a project involving childhood development. I have to say the other projects are a little bit more upbeat, but this is serious, important stuff, and we like to support serious, important stuff as well. So we're getting one dose of that, and there's a law in North Carolina which gives money to help people with disabled children. So God forbid you're in a situation where you either have a family friend or you yourself have been involved with that situation directly, having been married to it. My deceased wife was a psychiatric social worker. I saw the pain and horror of the situation to these people, and help is everything. And family stops understanding, and it just becomes tough. So this law is passed to help people, but there's a lot of problems with the law in getting an implementation of it. And so what he shows in here, and I picked two of the people, I think there's three in there, Luke and Nevin, and it shows the life that these people are living and how their families are dealing with it. And in a way it's positive, it's about an unpositive thing, but the law is an issue right now. So I'm showing this in a social cause element so that more people are made aware. And if it intrigues you, you can always email me, and I can pass you on to learning more about it, because I think it's fascinating. And then we're going to go, Shane, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay. Shane's I didn't actually walk through and look at.
It's a surprise to you, Scott.
This will be a surprise to all of us, but you know what? It's going to be amazing because it's by Shane. So we're going to leave that as a surprise. And then last but not least will be the year in pictures, which, like I said, is longer than normal, but I do keep things at a fairly fast beat. But I will warn you that there is some serious graphicness to it, and I hope none of it catches you by surprise, because I've now warned you. So, and I'm going to do one more thing. We're very proud of our center. This is the 28th FOTOfusion, correct? And the center's 33 or 38? It's an 8 thing. So 38 years since this started, which is pretty amazing. And these, it's all these divisions down. You've got FOTOfusion, which was 28 years ago. This thing I'm doing here is 8 years old. The best of photography, I guess if we brought it back, then we'd go say that was 9 years old, because I did that for 4 or 5 years. But it's great, you know. We, Lakshman and Art have a good family, and they've had great children here, so let's keep the ball rolling there. So in order to give a taste of that, we were graced by 2 gentlemen from Maine, and they were generous enough to do a vision of what we do here, and went to a couple of classes, and it's more an overview of the culture of this event as it was. Is that a fair description? Okay. We appreciate. What are both your names? Because in a hurry, I was literally given this 2 minutes before you guys walked in. Oh,
Rafi and Gideon.
Rafi Gideon?
Yeah.
Or is Rafi and Gideon?
I'm Gideon.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like this. My son does stand-up comedy, and I felt like I met Penn and Teller once, and they mess with you even if you don't know them, which one is Penn and which is Teller. And one of them plays mute, so it gets very complicated. But thank you, Rafi, and thank you, Gideon. Appreciate it. So I'm going to show first what they put together, their vision of our event. I apologize if tech-wise any of this stuff doesn't go as smoothly as I'd like, but some of this material literally was given to me in the last few minutes and in the last hour. And it's really great when it plays. Playing?
Yeah.
Oh, yes we are. All right. Without further ado, enjoy. usually impassioned presentation and many other filtering the cyanotypes. And Sean, you were in there as well. And saw David McInerney at the fairgrounds. Mr. Lopez, I'm going to forget all the people. If I didn't mention your name, I apologize, but you're in there, so look at it. And we will most likely put this on our Facebook, so you can come back and enjoy it. And if anybody ever asks you what you went to here and why it matters, this is a very good example to show someone and share your experience. So, without further ado, we're going to the one and only Robin, who takes animals to a level that nobody else I know does. So for those who want to see any of this again, because why not? Bill, you're here, Bill. Bill is videoing this and has the original content, so you can see it, and then unfortunately it gets stuck with my face a couple of times, but you can see the work in its entirety, just like you might at YouTube to see an event. So that'll be something to follow up with. And then on the other stuff here that is represented by Zuma, which is most of it actually, half of it, that we're on Vimeo, and in the IG world, Zuma Press will take you, Instagram, Zuma Press. We show the movies, and I will put together the movies from that on here for you guys to see next week if you want to revisit it. And then I'm going to go to Denis's work. Oh, I have to say one last thing. Is it going to start his own? I didn't, you should follow this work because Denis has been working on this. There's a lot of history where you can see how places have changed over the last 100 to 150 years. And to get a better sort of viewpoint and understanding of that, look at that. But just as pictures from the air and showing the geography and the way it works both with industry and changes, it's environmentally very strong group of pictures. And it's very small, but the way our screen does it, but you can know where they are. Maybe I'll tell you. That was near Rankin, Texas, Allison, Texas, oil, wells leave a serious scar in the ground and don't seem to ever go away. This is more in Texas. This is coal mining in Crown Point, New Mexico. East of Charleston, West Virginia. They level off the top of mountains there. It's a very serious long-term environmental issue. K4 in West Virginia as well, similar zone. This could be some, and this as well, the urban splaw, or splaw, however they say that. And this looks like this is that English thing where the crop dusting's happening, but it's not. And this is an aquifer issue, correct? Bell City, Texas. And this is a city named after me, I'm so lucky. North of South of Scott City, Kansas. This is an amazing shot. This would be amazing big. This is Quebec City. And in West Texas. Lake Wakanda. I think that was the best selling movie now. It's a well-known place. Green River, Wyoming. Colorado River, Lake Powell, Utah. Aqueduct near Phoenix, Arizona. So it's amazing the interstates and the big highways were there. And this looks like the Martians did it, a suburb of Las Vegas. San Fernando Valley, California. Rio Rancho Estates, near Albuquerque. Tennessee River, Watts Bar. Nuclear reactor somewhere.
Same place.
Which one?
Same place.
Okay, same place, sorry. The TVA has built an amazing amount of stuff in the greater Tennessee Valley. Nukes, all sorts of different power sources. Buckville Dam, Oregon. We're going back to the part of the world you're from, I believe. And John Day Dam. Wind farm near Oregon. Again in Oregon, the Interstate 84, in Eastern Oregon. And then there we are. Thanks, Dennis. I'm going to break my rules. Dennis, is there anything major about the concept behind this that I totally missed? I apologize.
All it is photographs of land use, how we've altered landscapes to support the modern world, whether it's for food, water, transportation, energy, you name it. All of it. If you're trying to understand why we have climate change, these alterations are the root of what are driving a lot of it.
And you use your private aerial jet called, like, whatever commercial airplane you're going on?
Every photograph is from a commercial scheduled aircraft.
So, I don't know if everybody heard, but this is a major environmental issue. I'm not making light of it, but what we see might look pretty in some ways, but if you think about the impact, the nature doesn't get super geometric just right off the bat. And having dried out next to water is an issue or problem in the long term.
The main idea I keep thinking about when I started doing it was when you get in airplanes, often they will say, please close the window shade so your compatriots can watch the entertainment. I submit that perhaps the most interesting entertainment is found by looking out.
I like that. Did everybody hear that? Bravo. Thank you for sharing this with Dennis. Appreciate it. And as I mentioned before, Sean does amazing work in a very low-tech items, toy cameras and pinhole cameras. So a pinhole camera you can make yourself from, for example, I don't know the one you use, but like the Oklahoma, the oats, the Quaker Oats ones is the ones we used at RISD to learn it. And that's a lot cheaper than a lens cap on some of these big cameras. So it's not about your camera. It's about what people like Sean do with it. And then also what he does. Is the different toning aspects, is that an aspect of what you're doing in printing or an aspect of the way the pinholes and stuff work, or the flare?
It's black and white film, and the irregular toning is done in Photoshop.
Okay, so there's two layers of what he does. And he's making an image based on, I love the call home photograph. Maybe that was for ET, I have no idea. But it's just a beautiful graphic and well designed. And you can see, he leaves his sprocket marks, I assume, so that we can see the actual film you're using in those particular ones, correct?
It's a medium format 6x9 film, and that pinhole camera is a wooden camera. It has notches in the box where the film goes. So you can actually change the format of the camera by moving these little pieces of wood around.
You know what, this is only a minute long. I'm going to go back because I think I smothered it. I want us just to look at the images, if you don't mind. Great. Thank you, Sean. I don't know about you guys, but I love the house. The House of Cards was pretty amazing. At first I was in love with your phone and the other one, but when I saw it the second time, it stood out. So it's interesting experientially. You can like something and then something else transcends it or takes it further. And that's exciting. So I'm going to go back to animals because I can't get enough of them. My company, Zuma, is named after my dog, so I guess it's you guys are stuck with animals if I'm showing you. So this is, I had Robin do a best of what he did during the year. You may see one or two of the stuff that was in our frogs on the log reel. Sorry, but they're good. And then you may see one or two of these photos in the best of the year. But again, they're worthy. So hopefully you enjoy them too. remember, we're an educational institute, right? So anybody venture, so that last part I just showed you had a lot more pictures than the first one. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many different, I'm going to ask you a question. But you saw a lot of them in the Frog and the Log, right? So you're thinking, oh, it's all the same stuff. Well, that just shows how good 2022 was for Robin, because those were all shot since the last FOTOfusion, where he lectured remotely. So what percentage were pictures from this year if you compare his best of reel? And is he getting better? So anybody got an idea of how many, or what percentage were in his best hits compared to last year?
20%.
20%? Anybody else got an idea? It's almost double.
Yep.
The other thing I did in my edit in the second one, which might be a little subtle for some people, is I upped the pace, and I did a more paceful music, and that will happen also when we get to the year in pictures. Some of it will seem to drag a little bit, and then some will go maybe too fast for you. That's normal, but almost 50% more images. But you're right to guess 25, but it's pretty amazing. He shoots a lot of the same things, so after a while it's a frog. Oh yeah, another frog, deer, another deer. But I think he's gotten to be such a more exceptional photographer, and he's already was pretty amazing and damn good. So that's where we are now. Maybe that part didn't interest you at all. I would like this event to have tequila shots and champagne and wine next time, because it keeps the flow. When we did FOTOvision outdoors, we ended up bringing, we got the city to generously put out different booths to go serve and give you that stuff. But maybe that'll happen in the future sometime, if it makes sense to you all. So this is Robin's piece. This is serious stuff, but it's also very positive, so that it is how these people deal with stuff. But it is a crisis, because these families deserve.
Hey, I'm Lou. I'm a spastic quadriplegic with cerebral palsy. I'm using my computer to help me to communicate by using eye gaze because I can't speak on my own, so the computer becomes my voice. I live with my elderly parents in a small cabin in the woods, and they're my caregivers. I use live support staff, but it's become harder to find people who want this job. I'm worried about myself and my parents because they won't be able to care for our Met forever. Everything is falling apart because nobody wants to work with me. It's just my parents and me.
Our main concern is worrying about Luke and who's going to take care of him when we're gone. Now, we have had several caregivers here. That's helped us through the years, but right now, after the pandemic, it has gone to nothing. And we've had to let the last one go right after the pandemic. Who is going to take care of Luke after that? Because there's no one left here that really knows Luke that well, and what to do, and how he talks. Some people can understand he spells words out for you. And when he's just laying in the bed, he'll spell words to tell you what he's wanting. He needs help with everything, from the time he gets up in the morning, getting him out of bed, feeding him breakfast, going to the bathrooms, everything. He needs total 7/24 care. Fixing his meals, cleaning everything for him. The caregivers, they've done a good job, but like I say, since the pandemic, nobody's putting in applications for the jobs anymore, hardly. They're getting in a few, but not much. And it's not like it was before the pandemic.
I have two sons on the autism spectrum. My oldest, Tyler, is 22 years old, and he does really well for the most part. My youngest son just turned 18, and Nevin is what you would consider on the lower functioning end of the spectrum. He's nonverbal, and he's incontinent, and he needs help 24/7 with his personal care needs. They both have innovations waiver. We received that at the same time when there were 30 slots that opened up about 6 or 7 years ago. We're just having a difficult time finding caregiver services for him. We live in a college town, and our staffing comes mostly from college students that apply. And their schedules are just back and forth. They change every few months, and they usually just give you evenings and maybe some weekend hours. Because of Nevin's personal care needs, it's hard to find somebody that will be willing to help him in those areas. He needs help in the bathroom. You have to, wipe him, and who wants to do that on, whatever they're paying now, which is probably, around $13, $14 an hour at best. The alternative to having our son at home would be an institutional facility, a group home or a state-run facility where we would give up our rights. And that has always been a scary thing for us. We want to be a part of his life. We want to be a part of his day-to-day activities, his decisions that are made for his care on a day-to-day basis. We don't want to give that up. We want to be part of his life. He is attached to his mom and dad, and we're attached to him, and we want him in our life. We're very concerned about abuse. If he was outside of our home, his anxiety has increased so much through the years that we feel like there are times when we were not with him that we don't know if he was abused, but that he maybe was pushed beyond a point of comfort, and it's contributed to his anxiety. And I don't want that to get worse.
Where does Luke go when we're gone, when we're not here anymore? Who's going to take care of him? And that has been my big concern for 25 years. What we're scared of is he's going to end up in a nursing home because he's total care. And none of these other private places take total care. He's just something else in education. He can spell anything. They say with this computer that probably one job he could get would be teaching people how to operate the Toby, because he is so efficient in it. They say he's probably the best they've ever seen. I'd hate to see his life just not matter to anybody.
I sacrifice a lot. I've sacrificed a career. I sacrifice friends. I've sacrificed family. Nevin is the priority, and that's okay because he's my son, and I do that. I will give up everything for him. And we do it because he's our son, because we love him. We understand his care. And most people don't understand his struggle and his challenge. Until we can find long care staff that can learn what his challenges and struggles are and help him deal with it and work through it, we're going to continue to have these problems.
I know it's a serious, hard thing to look at, but I think it's important I don't know about you guys, but I have 3 sons, and I have one who's had 2 heart surgeries, but he's very healthy. My other 2 are super healthy guys, and not everybody is blessed that way. And so we need to recognize that. And if any of you have any connection, this is you know how they don't like when movie stars have a political thing that they add to? So don't dislike me for this, but I think it's important. If you know anybody in North Carolina, they should look. And I call it Unmet for a reason, because there's a law to protect and help these people and have caregivers to support. Because these parents don't want their children to go into the system. They're beyond, not hope, but they're beyond care in a facility. My first wife worked in a facility like that, and they did the best they could. A lot of people give up because it's so hard. So the law is great in one sense. It provides help for them, but they're not getting it. And there's been all sorts of problems with it. Read up, form your own opinion. Maybe you don't agree with me, which is totally fine. But be aware about systems and problems like this. And should you have a connection in North Carolina, you should really find out and let any of your appointed officials know stuff. So, without further ado, we are going to the surprise slideshow tonight. And that is why our one. The one show that I actually hadn't seen, so I wouldn't know that was the end. Has that in it. Shane, so I'm really excited actually to have this part in here because Shane has worked here forever and a day and given so much of his heart and soul to this place, and we're very lucky to have him. He's worked in the print area. There's an amazing summer camp that he and the lovely lady sitting next to him have been involved with. I've hung shows during the summer and witnessed in person these great camps for kids with great curiosity and excitement learn about photography, and it's something to be seen. And then Shane this year joined the land of FOTOfusion beyond printing things up, and which is super important. He did 2 classes. What did we end up doing?
Yeah.
Okay. And animals are the topic again, I guess. Oh wow. So we have the horse ranches, real cowboys, all that, and that's something that we've always cared about. We've had different levels of attendance for all that, but it is definitely an interesting thing. Most people who are not from here that visit or join us at this occasion, if they're from Denmark or New York or California, they're not going to think of this part of Florida being a cowboy land, but it's definitely got a lot going on, and Shane knows as much about all that, having grown up in that environment and around people of similar kind of love. So thanks for sharing your world.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so I'm not from California, though somehow I get labeled with being Californian, but I do have 2 of those 3 kids were born there, so I guess I am Californian in so many different ways. But the interesting thing to me is like our ever-evolving world is becoming, to me, more homogenous. And I'm not really happy about that in some ways. The uniqueness of the world isn't there as much as it could be. But hopefully in this little trip around the globe, 365 days, roughly 365 photographers, 600 images. We're locking the doors, right? Nobody can leave. Definitely moments that you either loved or you went, I guess I can say that, WTF, because it was just wrong or unexplainable. And so we'll see some more of the animals that Robin gave us before, but it can never be too bad to see more frogs in the water. And I want to give you a perspective of how I put this together. So this up here is showing on the search engine, which I just did before this started, on the Zuma Press search engine. We have the largest editorial site in the world, so it makes sense we have some photos. But Rory, this is terrifying. We have, in the last year, I don't know if this makes sense to you guys, but in the last year, we had 7,971,209 images, all shot by professionals, in 96 countries, and by 9,500 different photographers. I've done this show for a bunch of years. I first created it for the French mayor a bunch of years ago, like 10 or 15. I've now created a new site where you can go watch this stuff that'll launch soon. But it's astounding to me because the first year I did it, I went through 200,000 images. So I'm a little bit terrified because this is a lot of work. But I'm not saying that. Don't feel bad for me. I chose to do it. But I'll just give you some perspective. And now, without further ado, I gotta confess something. So I'm wearing the dragon, right? One year I named one of the shows the Year of the Dragon for so many reasons. And you can argue in a very serious way that Putin and other people out there represent not a positive force. Even though dragons must have great publicists because they're very glorified in our society. But there's nothing positive about what a dragon does. And so it's interesting. So I was looking up the year that we're in, the Chinese New Year, because I knew we would be having this right around the Chinese New Year. And I read the wrong page. Damn Google, they sent me to the wrong place. I thought it was the Year of the Dragon. I'm like, that's so great. So I went out and actually got this shirt just for this to tie in. I blew it. It's the year of the water rabbit. It's not just the year of the rabbit, it's the water rabbit. So does anybody in the room know what a water rabbit is? Because, I only found this out shortly after I bought the shirt and embarrassed myself.
Robin Loznak will know.
It's what? Robin, oh yeah, he's in Maui working right now. He's doing more on the climate change kids that we had come and visit us before. Yeah, I don't know, but where I live, rabbits don't surf, but, so who knows what it is.
Hey, Scott.
Yes?
This is the night of the dragon.
Today's the night of the dragon. Oh my God. You're kidding me. He's a good friend. He's saving me. So I've always believed that it's good to be lucky, and it's, but it's better to be really lucky. So then I will say that is really lucky. Or maybe, who cares? Anyway, hope you guys like this, and think about it while you're watching it, if you want. And if there is any, maybe coffee is what we would have also needed at this event. I don't know, chocolate, no, coffee martinis, that's what it should be. But I want, if you guys can indulge me, we have this is our transition year, so we have a little less people, and we have a little less teachers and everything else, but we're coming back strong. Next year is going to be even better comeback. We keep growing back to where we were at our best with much new. I could use a dash of feedback. I'm curious if there is a single image that you guys think is the picture of the year. So, there's about 4 of us in the room who have made their living as an editor. Ramiro, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're right. Mickey's standing. How do you even see sitting behind Mickey? I mean, he's a tower.
There's a window right here.
Oh, yeah, it's like a redwood tree.
You can see the screen now.
Are you still a photo editor?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was just called today by Hachette because they're going to republish the books by Oscar Ijuelos.
Oh my God.
He did a whole series of things, and they are looking for my collected images in order to bring his books back to life.
So Ramiro is one of our great teachers who's been involved with us in many over the years. He was my editor at People magazine, and I don't know, there were no photographers around, so he foolishly gave me a bunch of gigs, and I always appreciated every last one of them. And being an editor is a leap of faith, because you quite often hire somebody that you've never met, and you're sending them to do something, and they better get it back by deadline. Books, there have deadlines too, but magazines, daily newspapers, if you don't bring it back, what you gonna do? So any of us in the room who've worked as a photo editor, it's tough to pick. It's easy to pick ones that are good, but I defy any of you to go through 7 million, I'm still astounded, 7,900,000 photos. I looked at every last one, so there you go. I'm insane. But I would love for you to help my insanity and tell me what image stood out. And I'm going to do it really quick and ask anyone who's willing to indulge me. Yes? Yes, it's near 600. So it may seem like a lot of pictures to some of the people in the room, and you may go like, what was he thinking? So some of the images, I used to always put a caption on these, on some of these, the most important ones, like the 12 biggest headlines of the year that I incorporated in here, which there's a great class tomorrow about the best headlines, which is something that we've done before, and that's what I incorporated there. I used to do that, but once you get to 600 images, the show gets longer, because reading, the speed readers in the room might be doing fine, but everybody else is going to have a tough time reading too many captions mixed in with all the photos. So the NPR version will happen. Their shows are super long always, so I'll have captions on those. But so I have some images in here that you may not understand why they matter. But I can tell you, every one of them is either a great, amazing image and or relating to a very important issue or topic. I could be wrong. There's somebody calling who's doubting me already. Oh yeah, I got absolved on the dragon, and so hopefully you enjoy this, and there's no wrong responses. If you don't like it, don't.
begin to eat the dust, the dust of Baja California.
It's a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure. It's a great pleasure to have all of you here today. I thought you all might begin your tour here.
Senator, welcome to our microphone. Is there anything of yours that we could keep as a memento of this visit? Take California.
Where's Will?
cake to pick out one better than all the rest, right? Much less, wait, Angelica, are you still there?
Yeah.
So, it's cake, right? It's one of the greatest magazine editors around. Works for the one, perhaps the most important news magazine left. No time is not what it was. Newsweek doesn't pay the bills and barely there. So, the U.S. News and World Report, did they even publish? I don't know, the 10 that were big when I started, you started, very much. They were Stern, and these other people, and now there's very much and Stern, pretty much.
Yeah.
And still doing great work. So, you ever had to edit 7 million images?
No.
No.
But not, you know, over the course, but I have not done the picture.
I think in your career you did
of
so.
the picture of the week, so we usually divide it up among a group of editors. You know,
Right.
we have for each edition, we have to select 3 images that are a reflection of what Scott shows, so it's from all walks of life. It's just usually a news photograph, there is a more emotional and cultural photograph, yeah. But for a selection like this, it's kind of tough because
I second that.
because it's photographically, of course, the images are so astonishing, but they are not significant for the year per se.
Right.
Okay, so I would not choose an animal photograph or a photograph of an event that repeats, like the Hajj or anything, or the tower, the human tower.
Yes, the Barcelona
I
Tower.
don't choose any of those for a picture of the year, because a picture of the year should reflect an event of that particular year. So for me, it whittled down to 2 images of this past year. The first one was fairly early in the beginning. I think it was in either February or March. And you had a mother mourning her fawn son, close-up of her in this very tender gesture, bending over her son's body in a coffin, open coffin, and she's just caressing his face and holding it. And this is still early in the war, but it is there's no gruesomeness really about it. You don't have blood. There are other pictures that are heart-wrenching, but I felt that this moment of this loss of is for me a significance of the war. And the other one, the other image that is one of the close-ups of the women, Iranian women. The one I liked the second. I had first chosen the one where she had the gallows painted on her face. I felt exactly because this is happening at the moment, and it's happening because of the brutality against women. And then came the second one where the woman had the blood painted on her face. So I'm a bit on the fence because I thought in the end that was the stronger image, but I like the gallows image because of the things that are ongoing. So that's my choice.
No, those are major choices.
I'm not sure which one, because Iran is so much to my heart because of what is happening is just so outrageous. But the Ukrainian war we've almost gotten used to, which
It's sad.
yeah. So in the end, I would go for Iran. If I had to make now a choice, that would be my image. Probably the blood running out. I just painted suggested, and the Iranian flag in that wood image, the colors of the flag. So
Thank you very much. Hey, word, the picture she mentioned, the first one's by Carol Guzzi, and it was in the first couple of weeks of the war, and that was the first really big burial that occurred too. Not that that makes it a better photo, but the emotion was so raw and tender there, and really only Carol covers something like that and makes it beautiful, well, makes you realize the sad and horror of it. She doesn't take it for granted. She treats it with respect and with compassion. The Iranian photograph, was that from Rusbit?
Yeah.
So Rusbit is Iranian. Rusbit was involved, Rusbit's father was like the major photographic teacher. You know his background.
Not really, no, I didn't know that.
Well, that's why we have him, because I met him somewhere, and he told me a story, heart-wrenching story. But his father is a major teacher of photography and very respected. And then he followed in the family's footsteps, and we're lucky he did. And that's it. That is a relative of the poor, I was mispronouncing her name, but she that died in. And I didn't include, so Rory's seen all these photos. Not as many times as I have because I went through all of them, but maybe, almost. We're lucky enough in that group. I want to point out David McNamara's group with the LA Dodger cap. We covered the Beijing Olympics and many other things for us, so he had something in there. Robin, as I previewed the animal stuff, he had a couple of the images. Arguably, the blue, beautiful bird is not worthy necessarily a picture of the year, but a lot of it's in context and how it works with other images and the time sequencing of what we are, which you can totally have a million ways of looking at that. I define it as
a whole segment of, so you could to select out the sports image of the year or the the wildlife image of the year, and there are competitions like that. But I think because I'm coming from a documentary journalistic background, I think for me the news events of the year will always be in the foreground. I can't separate myself from that. So I'm certainly tainted in that way. So right?
You know, I agree with you completely. The one thing I would just say about events is that when something transcends the event and is unique, most people in this room should be able to remember. I threw Nikki in there with the girl in the picture, visiting with the Pope. And that is not an important picture by itself, but that person and that lady and that person, they all become a thing unto themselves. So on top of that, when there's a sports event, most of us would remember the Mexico Olympics when the three America, as usual, did very well on track and field, and the very fast runners were protesting black rights, and they put their hands up in defiance with a glove over it. So that becomes beyond this event that happens every 2 years. And we rarely have that. You didn't see a lot of the World Series. You saw one photograph from the Super Bowl. The problem is I edit this and I keep getting a smaller number, and then it's terrible. I go back through my outs a little bit and then something comes back in. The picture you like, one of your two choices, actually the hang face that disappeared at one point in my edit. And I was lucky enough, I had